welcome to Her Story, Part 2. So, it has been a little while since I played. So, yeah, last time I actually took note of some keywords I never got to use that I thought might be useful. So, I will start with those, and hopefully not have to do a whole lot of backtracking. But we will see how this goes. So, yeah. Let's do this. If any of the buttons will work. There we go. Okay. So, I'm just gonna watch the first 4 again, just to remind us where we started.
You think it's murder? I mean, clearly it's murder. What can I do to help? Yeah, that's me. But February, and that was months ago. What's that got to do with Simon's murder? I didn't murder Simon. You've got it wrong. You've got the wrong person. I'd like to speak to a lawyer now. Please. You have no murder weapon. You have nothing. And all these stories we've been telling each other, just that. Stories.
So, yeah. Those were the starting videos. So, I think one of the words I got out of that was February. Oh, February. February. Perfect.
Well, I don't know. I probably had to pop out and get something, that's why I was speeding. And that wouldn't have been noted on my timesheet. But I really can't remember back to February.
That didn't really go anywhere. Or did it?
You must be desperate for leads if you're getting hung up over 6-month-old speeding tickets. He has a wallet, a huge, silly thing, leather, real leather, I think. He packs it full of stuff, business cards, receipts, lottery tickets. He always carries it in his back pocket. I think that's why he's got a bad back. He sets the discs. I haven't seen it, so he must have it on him. He always takes it out of his back pocket before, when he comes in, if he's in the house. I remember the ticket, of course. I paid it without telling Simon. Didn't want to get told off. And they put points on the licence.
One-handed typing strikes again. Heh, okay. Well, that led nowhere. So, let's go back to the mirror. There we go.
It was my birthday, like you said. We were going to have a meal at home. We had our meal. He gave me his present. I guess I didn't like the present. From when I woke up. Okay. I woke up. Simon was already up and he made me birthday breakfast of Eggs Benedict. We both had to go to work, so we saved presents till later. I got to work, had some birthday cake, children sang me happy birthday, then I came home. The birthday meal was a takeaway, and Simon gave me his present, which I didn't mind. And after that, we talked about the baby. It turned into a big argument. Simon left. I was furious. I wanted to get as far away as I could and get some space to think. So I left.
Okay.
About 8 years back, it was a present to myself. I shouldn't even be drinking coffee with the baby. It's been hard trying to give it up. I think they say you can have 1 cup.
What? That was confusing.
Her story is that she'd waited for him to come back. She put on my wig, some of my clothes, pretended to be me. They talked. She'd enjoyed being me. He said he wanted to be with me. Then he took out a present, another mirror, just like the one he'd given her earlier. That unique present. She went crazy, smashed the mirror. They argued, screamed. He hit her. So she grabbed a piece of the mirror and just swung it round. She cut his throat clean open. She'd only meant to scare him off.
Interesting.
On his throat. How? Like I said before, it was 3, something like that. I walked in, saw Simon. He was on the floor of the living room. His throat had been cut. There was a lot of blood. Yeah, he was dead.
Ooh.
Okay. I've given blood before. Do you need to take that for your records? Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. The blood. It's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Well, fine, considering. I got back into the house today, and that was weird, knowing your people had been there through my things. It's like I'd been burgled. Only worse, obviously. I don't know. I haven't looked in the cellar yet. They sent a cleaner in. As good as new, he said. But they had to throw some stuff out. Couldn't get the blood out. And I'm still waiting to hear from the coroner so we can get a date set for the funeral. It's going to be a cremation. So, she was sat behind him. She had my wig on. And she'd been there all day. And she had blood on her. And she was in shock.
Hey. Interesting. I can't enter a message? Oh. Okay. So, I think I have enough to potentially solve it, but I'll just keep going. I like to be sure.
The thing was wrong. The bags, I think they were from our kitchen. You could probably check that. We never go into the cellar. It's just a place we put things we don't need. Dad used to grow mushrooms there.
Of course he did.
The bags were taped up. I think it was parcel tape, but I think it was ours. It happened very quickly. We hardly had to talk to each other. We agreed almost silently. The baby was what mattered. We'd help each other. We cleaned up. We bagged up the broken mirror, her clothes. They're gone. We took him down to the cellar. We knew we had an alibi, and we wanted the body to be found later. We wanted to have suspicion on us, so we could then disprove it, rather than have it linger. Better to keep the body in the house than risk being seen with it. The watch, that was my touch, to make sure the alibi stuck. I guess you could call it that, but we were both happy to get married. It was a beautiful wedding. We had our first dance to Come Back and Stay. I'm not sure if that's a good wedding song, but I loved it. I chose it. I mean, it was genuinely our first dance. We'd never danced together before. It was probably awful to watch, but I enjoyed it. It felt like it was just me and Simon for that moment. Just the two of us. Yes. We'd fight. We fought on the beach once and I held Eve's head underwater. There was no one else. Yeah, that's Simon's watch. It was a gift from Eric. He got it this year. It was a wedding anniversary gift. I guess you could call it that, but we were both happy to get married. It was a beautiful wedding. We had our first dance to Come Back and Stay. I'm not sure if that's a good wedding song, but I loved it. I chose it. It was genuinely our first dance. We'd never danced together before. It was probably awful to watch, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. Let's get back to birthday. See if that goes anywhere.
Yes, that's my birthday. Not one of the big ones, but I guess you can see that. No. Well, yes. He found out on my birthday. I told him I was pregnant. A week or so ago. It would have been the Saturday before my birthday. You know, I get like that on the weekends, have a lie-in, then want to get up and blitz the house.
So I think he'd gone missing on a Friday, so let's see if that goes anywhere. No.
It was late, early Saturday morning.
I hate useless ones like that.
Yes, I'm fine. I'll ever sick again. This happens some days. I'm pregnant. This morning sickness. I was living in the attic. It was a very hard time. I was depressed, was still pretty sick of the STD. When I came down one morning, they were dead. They were in bed and both had been sick. They'd thrown up a lot. And I slept through it. The police said it was the mushrooms they ate. Dad was a mushroom expert. He used to take us picking with him and he taught us how to recognise them. And there's no way he would have picked dead caps. But the police believe that's what happened. They never even looked in the attic. No. The parents decided there would be a wedding. And after the wedding, Hannah moved in with his parents. There was no way I could follow. So we were separated again. I stayed in the attic. It was hard. It's like I suddenly didn't exist. I would sneak out, but in case anyone recognized me, I started wearing a wig. Hannah and I would meet up in the park. I was trying to get pregnant, but I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't do it with anyone we knew, so it was sex with strangers, drug guys I'd met in clubs, parks and alleyways. I was 17. It felt like I was being punished. But it was Hannah who had betrayed us. I had to stop when one of the guys gave me an STD. When we met up, it was disturbing. For the first time, my reflection, she didn't look like me. She was fatter, flushed. If anything, I was getting skinnier. I had a hearty look sometimes. We talked about what to do. Was it time to become our own people? I mean, that seemed like the right thing to do, but neither of us wanted it. We agreed that her and Simon would get their own place as soon as possible, and then I could move in. And that was the plan. They said it was food poisoning. There was something in the food they ate. My dad liked to pick mushrooms, grow them too. They said it was the mushrooms. It was hard to believe. Death caps. They have a skirt around the cap. My dad taught me that. But I mean, the police had no reason to think it was suspicious. They lived alone, and no one had any reason to hurt them. I got pregnant. Both our parents had a big powwow. We weren't even in the room. And they decided we should get married. Then my parents died. It was the worst year of my life. A miscarriage and then my parents.
That goes nowhere.
I hoover, I dust every week, maybe less. I once asked Eleanor how often I should dust, and she said, if people ask, tell them you do it once a week, but every few weeks is okay. I think she was just trying to make me feel better. I mean, when I was there, she was hoovering every day. You know, ran an ordered house. You know how that generation is, putting on a brave front. She has secret stashes of cigarettes. Doug doesn't even know she smokes. When I was there, I saw her. She has these sort of porcelain vases, ornamental, next to the Reader's Digest books. Cigarettes inside. And she still has them. I mean, last time I was there, I looked in a vase. There was a fresh pack. I mean, all those years of marriage, and she still has a secret like that.
Oops. No. Wrong place.
So, our sex life is probably fairly average for a couple after 10 years of marriage. Simon was very moral about that sort of thing. He wouldn't just walk out there and sleep with anyone. He wasn't that kind of guy. He took his marriage very seriously. After the kiss, the next time, he took me back to the house, to our parents' house, to their house. So, it was definitely him. I sometimes think he wanted to get caught to prove to himself that we were different people. He told me about his marriage, told me how his wife was completely different to me. I almost burst out laughing. Mum and Dad never knew what was going on and got so good at it. We were so in sync that we'd use each other to cheat. If one of us had a hangover, the other one would go to school. Whoever was best at a subject would sit the exam. There were lots of differences between us. Some things one is better than the other at.
Okay. Let's find out. She keeps mentioning that he kissed her. Let's see if that goes anywhere.
Yes. I thought about telling Hannah. I felt guilty after the kiss. But then it began to feel like this was the way it should be. Sharing, like we had before. He never mentioned her to me. There was the Simon with me and the Simon with her. It was almost like it was a different Simon. But yeah, we were 17. It was a nice wedding, people said. Simon looked very handsome in the photos. His parents paid for everything, but he's an only child, so it was important to them. It was what they called a shotgun wedding, but if you looked at the photos, you couldn't tell. The dress was beautiful. It looked like Princess Diana's. The train wasn't quite as long, though. There's a great photo of the bridesmaid helping to carry it out of the car.
Okay. Alright, let's go back to Eleanor. Who is Eleanor?
Yeah. I've been mounted up in Eleanor's and they're very worried. I feel sorry for them. parked up in the street. It was busy, so I had to park down the end of the road. Walked up, knocked on the door, no answer. I took my keys out of my bag and unlocked the door. The main lock was unlocked. You can tell because the key doesn't turn when you try to turn it to the left. I walked in. Simon's coat wasn't on the peg. I couldn't see his shoes in the shoe rack. I shouted out. I walked straight into the kitchen because he usually sits in there to have a cup of tea and read his paper, but he wasn't there. I touched the kettle, it was cold. I looked quickly in the living room, nothing. So I walked upstairs to the bedroom and he wasn't there. I didn't search for him because it was pretty clear he wasn't there. I had a shower. The phone rang whilst I was in the shower. I didn't answer it. I think it was Eric. Then I was just exhausted. So I lay down on the bed and I fell asleep, though I didn't mean to. I woke up a couple of hours later and I was surprised to see no one in the bed next to me. And then I remembered where I was and what had happened. That's when Eric called again. This time I spoke to him. Then I called Doug and Eleanor. And then I decided to come and see you. Eleanor? 1984 was an awful year in the end. We were living at Doug and Eleanor's. I lost the baby at the end of spring and my parents died in the summer. It was a hot summer, a heat wave. So when they discovered the bodies, it was just awful. Because of the circumstances, them dying together like that, they brought in a lot of police. A forensic entomologist. I had to look that up. It was because of the heat. It's just awful. Yes. I speak with Eleanor at least once a day. Not that there's anything much to say. It's more just...
Achievement unlocked, spilled coffee. You know, the important things.
I got a job to contribute, you know. Doug knew someone and I got a job as a dinner lady at the primary school. They said it didn't matter if I could cook or not, just don't poison the kids. So you see, it's always been complicated between me and Simon. It's never just been the two of us. There's always been pressure.
Oops. Don't mind the one-handed typing and misspelling. I guess that's not important. Okay.
No, they were shut. Most of the windows were really hard to open anyway. It's stifling in summer. They were painted over by my dad. Could have left a door open accidentally. Or there's a cat flap in the back door.
Detective Sergeant achievement unlocked. There we go.
Bruce? Oh, yeah, no, it's nothing. I was going through the top cupboard in my kitchen and the chair slipped and I kind of hit the door with my face. I mean, hurt like hell. Yeah, I had to let myself in. The door locks if it swings too. I sleep on the right side of the bed as you come in from the door. You can tell because I have two pillows and he just has one.
use.
If one of us got hurt, the other one would have to be hurt too. A grazed knee, a bruise. When I lost my tooth first, we had to pull out Hannah's to match. Once, I slept with a boy who was seeing another girl. The girlfriend came up to Hannah the next day and punched her in the face, gave her a huge black eye. That night, she had to do the same to me. But she almost went too far. I couldn't see out of that eye for days. She snapped a frozen piece up for me from the kitchen. So much of our bodies was synchronised anyway. We started our period on the same day, all our childhood diseases, stomach bugs, nits. This was about 9. I went round and she was waiting for me. She was furious and so angry, the kind of anger you can only have towards yourself. We screamed at each other, argued, cried, we fought. I hit her back, left a bruise. I had my wig on from performing and she tore it off. Eventually we grew tired of fighting and I left. It was supposed to be a secret. Just because Simon is dead doesn't mean I have to give up all his secrets. It doesn't have anything to do with what happened to Simon. No one murdered my husband because he cheated his expenses for a romantic weekend in Oxford. When we weren't together, we'd send secret messages by tapping out a code that we'd learned from a book, the knock code. Something prisoners of war would use. We'd tap them out on radiator pipes or the attic floor. Dad thought we had mice, but we couldn't find any. Bought a cat anyway.
Okay, I actually do remember that one scene from part 1 when I played, where I think it was Hannah had her head down on the desk and started tapping weirdly. Well, that disappointingly led nowhere. Let's go to... see what happened in Oxford.
There was a conference, something to do with double glazing, in Oxford.
Ooh, glazing. Yay. Still probably lead nowhere, but yeah.
And the glaziers. I worked there some weekends and Simon had a part-time job there too. That was Eric's generosity. He was always good at helping out other people's children. Simon was quiet, more thoughtful than the other boys. Even then, he had a sense of craftsmanship. Wasn't always rushing stuff. Boys that age are just running around like headless chickens most of the time. You know? Plus, he had that look. He looked like a fairy tale prince from one of my books.
Fairy tale has come up quite a bit. I might look that up.
Okay, you got me. I'll confess. We were there. It was a dirty weekend. Simon was going to expense it, pretend it was a business trip. I used a made-up name. We stayed at the hotel, had room service, didn't leave the room, had a great view of the river, and you could hear the church bells. Like you said, it was very romantic.
No, wait. This one first.
Sorry. The picture, the way it's drawn, just reminded me of the books we used to read as children. I read those fairy tales over and over, and they were so real to me. Rapunzel was my favourite. My brain is just full of it. Are any of these in colour? Simon never cheated on me. He was devoted to me, and I was devoted to him. Nothing in life is easy. We were good to each other. Life isn't a fairy tale. We do what we can. Fairy tales. Stories about lost princesses, evil witches, magical mirrors and lost children. So you see, even before I knew the truth, I'd found it in those stories. Yes, like a story. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Well, she has a knife. She's been cooking, I guess. She's been cooking him his favourite meal. She's his wife. He's asleep and she doesn't want to wake him because he's ill. That's why she's sad. Because he's ill and he might die. It's kind of a sad story, so I'm not sure how it ends.
Oh, wait. Haha.
Okay. Sounds weird. I'm not great at making up stories. Let me see. Yes. I drove in here because I remember, well, I went over the river. And then there was a church there. Yeah. And I probably well, I remember seeing a street sign called Princess Street. There it is. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it must be this one. There. I don't know if anyone really changes. You just become more yourself. Simon was my prince, and that hasn't changed. We were obsessed with fairy tales. Not just the pretty, pretty ones, but the traditional ones. They were dark and real, bizarre and violent. Felt like life. We had this huge old book that I think Mum must have bought from a library sale. The illustrations had thin tracing paper over them to protect them. They were in colour, shiny plates. At the front of the book was an index of illustrations. We read that more than the actual stories. We'd read aloud the captions and flip between the pictures. There was something intimate about peeling back the tracing paper, undressing the pictures. Rapunzel's hair is cut. The eagle plucks out his heart. The princess pricks her finger. Did I pass? Sorry, I messed it up with all that Rapunzel stuff. Do you need me to do that card again?
Nope. Alright, I figured as much. Just curious. I think you said something about a beach earlier. No.
Really? You're going to ask me about my sex life? I mean, isn't that private? Are you married? How is your sex life? No, you're talking to the wrong person if you think I'm some kind of slut. If you think I'm the kind of person that would have had sex with all those guys.
Okay, it was worth a shot. Let's see where reflection goes. You said that a couple times.
Yes. The first time we saw each other, it was strange. We both realised at the same moment, I think. We must have seen each other before, but there was this instant when we first realised it wasn't a reflection. The reflection was staring back. I think I was 5. It was my birthday. My reflection was wearing a party hat and waving. I knew what party hats were from books. And it suddenly occurred to me, today must be my my birthday. I waved back and we just spent ages waving at each other and copying each other's movements. Mother wanted me to grow my hair long, but I kept cutting it myself. I wanted to look like my reflection. She always had short hair when she was little. Mother would hide the scissors, but I would find a way. Cut it with a bread knife, something like that. My reflection would always leave her house and go on adventures, but I never could. Mother taught me at home, and I had books and TV. TV was magical, but it was only on when it wanted to be, so I spent a lot of time reading books. I wanted to see my reflection. I thought that if I touched her, something would happen. We would become one. One girl. The fairy tale was over, the witch was dead, and I'd be restored to my rightful place.
Search for that in a minute. See if the window goes anywhere. No. Okay. No, I think I will leave it there for now. So, yeah. Thank you for watching Her Story Part 2. I'll be back soon to keep going. So, yeah. I will see you all next time. Goodbye and